So I started this channel in March of 2020, early last year. Started formulating things a couple months before that, but really launched it in that time period. And this is the first time I've seen a movie, walked away from it, and immediately said to myself, I just have to start talking about this movie. And the movie I'm talking about is Ridley Scott's 2021 film, The Last Duel. So I really want to talk about this movie. So let's do exactly that. Thanks so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. So Ridley Scott, the guy's a master of cinema. He's made some movies that have fallen flat kind of in the latter half of his career. And yet he's also responsible for some incredible masterpieces. I mean, Alien, you could make an argument that that's the greatest horror movie ever made, and I would hear that argument, and I might actually buy that. Movie holds up to this day. I remember seeing the anniversary of it when it was released in the 2000s, and it was like this special director's cut edition, and it's amazing. Blade Runner, right? Widely considered also one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made. Holds up. Had a fantastic sequel several years ago, Blade Runner 2049. And 2000, Gladiator, a movie again phenomenal. Sword and sandals epic about revenge and love and war and all this amazing stuff. And walking into The Last Duel, I didn't really know what to expect. I think my expectations are kind of, when it comes to his film, when it comes to Ridley Scott's films, are kind of tempered by Gladiator. I've seen kind of what he can do with this type of film before. So I assumed that this movie was kind of like that. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it's really not at all like that movie. Um, this film does some really, really cool things, not just in like the handful of fight sequences, because this really isn't like a big epic war movie. That's kind of what I was led to believe based on some of the marketing, the trailers, but this just simply is not that type of film. This is a movie that's about revenge and justice, vengeance, whatever you want to call it. Um, Framed around a relationship between two men, and also the wife of one of the men. Matt Damon plays Jean. This movie takes place in like 18th century, late like mid 18th century France. Nobody speaks French in it. For some reason, a bunch of people have English accents, but whatever. I'm willing to let it slip. But it's a period piece set in that time period. And it's about these two guys and their like deteriorating friendship. But the movie starts off in a really interesting way. It kind of like doesn't really feel properly stitched together, in that you'll have like a scene and then it'll cut and then you'll have another scene, but there's no real like seamless transition in between them. It's almost like there's a piece of the story missing after every scene and before every scene. Like they're not really telling you the whole story. And the movie's set in 3 chapters, and that disjointed feel is actually on purpose. And I don't want to spoil the narrative structure of the movie, because it's one of those things that when it's revealed the way they're going to ultimately tell this story, about a third of the way through it, you realize, oh, this is a movie that's going to be very different than what I expected from the way it's told. And that part of it, the way the movie's told, the way it's all laid out, and the way these stories like intertwine with one another, is a part of the movie that makes it work so freaking well. And I don't want to spoil it, but the way this movie is told is so important to its success. And I will leave that part of it at that. So the characters in this movie, Matt Damon's Jean, a very nuanced character, much more so than we're initially led to believe. Jacques, played by Adam Driver, exact same thing. A character that we think is one thing that is slowly revealed to be something completely different. Lady Marguerite, played by Jodie Comer. And this is a movie that, like, she's kind of the most important character in it. For a movie about two guys, coming to blows, wanting to kill each other, the friendship that deteriorates. When you look at all of that stuff, um, it's really not their story, and that's a little shocking, because the movie is just the way it reveals all of this stuff is really cool. But this really is Lady Marguerite's movie, and Jodie Comer in this is fantastic. She really carries water for the rest of the film. Everyone's performances are great. She's the standout. Ben Affleck has like a major role in this movie as Pierre, who's like this, lord, landowner, lord, whatever that means in 13th century France. Uh, and he's great in it too. He kind of disappears into the character, and it plays against type, I think, in a lot of ways. As kind of this guy who's alternately, goofy and silly, but depending on the eyes of the character who's seeing him, that tends to change in flux. So I have so much I want to say about this movie, and I really think I can just sum it all up by saying that The Last Duel is one of the best movies of 2021. It came out of nowhere for me. I remember watching the trailer for it and being like, "Oh, that movie looks awesome. I can't wait to see it." And just never got around to seeing it in the theater. And so I watched it on digital tonight. And yeah, if you like Ridley Scott movies, if you like action movies, if you like drama, because at the heart of this movie, it's ultimately a drama. You could call it an epic. You could call it, a medieval film. You could. There's a million other films you could compare this to. You could compare the political drama of the time to something like you would see in Game of Thrones. But I think that's really selling it short. This movie is ultimately a character piece and a drama and a thriller, kind of all at once, wearing the skin suit of a medieval battle of wills between two men. So, if you like movies at all, The Last Duel is an awesome one, and I really can't recommend it enough. I might say this is my favorite movie of 2021 so far, and it's December. So, love this movie. Check it out. It's streaming on digital, whatever way you can get your hands on it. This movie is grotesque in a lot of ways too. It's extremely violent. It's extraordinarily bloody. The fight scene, the last duel at the end, is awesome. And if you like movies, this is one that you should definitely watch. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Seriously, if you enjoyed it, found it helpful, please consider subscribing. You can also like and share the video. That tells YouTube that it's worth promoting. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of The Last Duel. I'll see you next Wednesday, 9 a.m.